What a beautiful crowd. Don't you agree? Good evening. And on behalf of our board of directors, I would like to welcome all of you and Commissioner Monica Mateo Salinas to the Miami Beach Botanical Garden. My name is Amy Rosenberg, and I have the privilege of serving as the CEO of this 3-acre urban oasis in the heart of Miami Beach, a garden that proudly has no admission charge and serves our community with more than 25 programs each and every week. Tonight, we are extraordinarily fortunate to welcome the Fragrance Foundation, along with its president, Linda G. Levy, and these world-class panelists. This garden is truly a multi-sensory playground filled with fragrant trees and plants that inspire our visitors and our team every single day. The scent of ylang-ylang brings a smile to the many brides who celebrate their weddings here. When we hand a lemon bay rum leaf to children on a field trip, their delight is boundless. Fragrance has the power to create emotion and memory. A few months ago, I wrote an email to Linda sharing that our garden would love to collaborate with the Fragrance Foundation. Much to my surprise and delight, over the past several months, the foundation and the garden began a conversation that has turned into this beautiful evening. I cannot thank Linda and her amazing team enough. This is the kickoff to Fragrance Month for the foundation. Linda G. Levy is affectionately known throughout the industry as the Fragrance Queen. She is known for her extraordinary knowledge, leadership, and passion. Under her leadership, the foundation has placed perfumers themselves at the center of the conversation, recognizing them as the true creative artists behind the fragrances we love. Her distinguished career includes executive leadership roles at Macy's, the Estee Lauder companies, L'Oreal, and the list goes on. We are deeply grateful for Linda's leadership and for the partnership of Executive Director Charnay Jackson and the entire incredible, incredible team. We're also grateful to our own garden team, the artist Tara Ben-Mella, and several other people who I have to shout out. Our board members, Joanne Rosen, Valerie Schimmel, Sandra Deering, Petra Levin, and Chris Lattis. I also want to thank Robin Rosenbaum on our board, Melissa Berthier, Michelle Berger, and Patrice Gillespie-Smith for being here tonight. And now it is my great pleasure to welcome the Fragrance Queen herself.
Thank you, Amy. Sometimes you do get an email that touches you in a way that every other email doesn't, and we're all here thanks to Amy Rosenberg, so thanks a lot. So we are so happy to be here. I know some of the people in the audience, I know the people up on the stage extremely well. By the time we end this conversation, you will know what a perfumer actually does, and you'll understand why we're in the garden tonight. So I think I will start to just let you know the Fragrance Foundation was created in the 1940s by a woman of action, I would say, who's 101 years old and lives in New York City. I became the president in the fall of 2017. We are a not-for-profit organization. I spent my whole life in the beauty business. Every single, Estee Lauder, P&G, L'Oreal, Coty, story goes on and on. But in my last job, I ran the fragrance business at Macy's. And it was something that was really bothering me when I was there because all of the marketing talked about the brand, but didn't talk about the artists behind the fragrance. And I grew into this job, and I'm very proud of it. So the reason you're here tonight is because when I got this job, there was a popcorn day, a pizza day, and all kinds of days, but there was no fragrance day. So in the year 2017, we registered and trademarked the Fragrance Day, which is March 21st. And across the country, and actually around the world, it's a global trademark, and we have licensed organizations in France, the UK, Austria, and many others. We celebrate Fragrance Day, and that's a day when we get to really highlight the perfumers, as we do all year in other ways, which I'll describe. And our members, just as the last factoid on this story, at the Fragrance foundation are retailers such as Sephora, Ulta, Saks, Neiman's, Macy's, and so on, who sell fragrance. The fragrance houses, which you've never heard about till tonight, which are the companies that make everything that you smell, and they're also in the flavors business, everything you eat. And these fantastic people that you're going to get to know work in the fragrance houses specifically, creating fragrances. And the other part of the Fragrance Foundation are the members who have brands. So it's really big, huge global organizations like LVMH or L'Oreal or Coty, but it's also medium-sized companies like Shiseido or Interparfum and others. And I'm very proud also that another big initiative is it's all about small brands as well. So we have some other superstars sitting in the seats. We have the House of Beau that's between New York and Florida. Just turn around and say hello to everyone. You're famous for 2 minutes. That's Giancarlo and Bernardo. We also have Terry Johnson, that gorgeous woman with the hat. She's waving from the back, who started from the other end of town, the Harlem Candle Company and the Harlem Perfume Company. And I've met a lot of lovely entrepreneurs as well tonight. So that's enough about the Fragrance Foundation. Tonight, you're going to learn what a perfumer does, the various backgrounds they come from, and the greatest thing for all of us today is that we don't know you. We are not here to just talk to people in the beauty industry. We are here to explain to the real world, that's you in your seats, what fragrance really is, why it's so transportive. And the reason we are in this garden tonight is that our theme basically is the artistry of fragrance. And that's our theme for about a month, until we get to March 21st and end the month. But it's really our theme the entire year. Our mission is to inspire the world to discover the artistry and passion of fragrance. So before we begin, a little question and answer piece. And at the very end, we're going to have the opportunity, if you wish to answer a question. Besides being the fragrance queen, I am most famous for starting on time and ending on time. You will be out of here at 8:30, no problem. So celebrate that if you're wondering when you're having dinner. Let us start, though, because everything will be with humor and artistry tonight. I'm going to ask each of these fabulous perfumers who I actually love, and I thank them again for coming here tonight. They're really special. If you haven't met them at their table set up, you're going to get to know them now. But I'd like each of you to introduce yourselves. Say who you are, how long you've been a perfumer, and in a very succinct manner, why you love being a perfumer. So we're going to start with Honorine Blanc right here.
So I'm Honorine. I've been in the industry for 33 years. I spend most of my time between Paris and New York. And why do I like what I like to create is because it helped me somehow to play with nature, technology, but also to reveal to the world something that is behind the scene, because fragrances and emotion are very connected. So it's something that's very close to us, and I like to play.
And where are you from originally?
So I grew up in Lebanon, 16 years, then I moved to Paris, and then I've been in New York for 33 years to really live my passion.
And these are all USA perfumers. Want to emphasize that as we go through the night. And Rodrigo, what is your story? How long have you been a perfumer? Where are you from?
Good evening, I'm Rodrigo Flores-Roux. I am basically the only Mexican perfumer in the world, and I am very proud but very lonely, so if you have any applicants, I will take the applications. I've been doing this just a little bit more than Honorine because I'm older than her and we have worked together, so we can say that. In New York for 30-something years, I work at Givaudan. Only today, I was told I was given the title within my company as a master perfumer, so I am very proud. So it's a celebration for today, and I'm very, very happy
Congratulations, that's a big thing.
Yeah, it's a big thing. So I will be the master, wow. And I am originally a botanist. For me, it's very meaningful and very wonderful to be here in one of my most favorite botanical gardens in the world. Believe me, when I go to a city, I go to the botanical garden. I check it out. And sometimes with a very critical eye, and this place is absolutely seamless. I absolutely love it. It is true that it's very famous for the redolence of ylang ylang, not in this season, but it will come. And I am absolutely delighted to represent the Latin culture. And in these crazy times, I think, doing that is very meaningful and very important to me. So thank you for being here.
Patty, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Linda. I'm Patty Hidalgo. I'm a perfumer at International Flavors and Fragrances. I've been in the industry 20 plus years. We're not going to go to 30. Might be there, but we're going to say 20 plus. This is such an amazing event. Thank you for establishing Fragrance Day. It's so wonderful to celebrate our craft together, of the power of fragrance, and it's just amazing that we have this day to celebrate. It's awesome, and to be here in Miami, double awesome. I don't know if I'm the only Cuban perfumer, but I'm happy to be here in Miami today. Thank you.
Thanks. And Gino, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Linda. I'm Gino Percontino. I'm the only Italian-American perfumer, fake news.
Or at least on the panel.
I did start a trend now.
Just kidding. And I've been in the industry for less years than Patty, but about 20 years or so. I've known Patty for many years. And I love fragrance. I mean, fragrance is something that is it's just amazing to be able to create something that can bring you back in time. And transport you to a place or a time that makes you happy. I think that's one of the things that I love to do as a fragrance developer. I like to create fragrances that make you smile. If you look at a lot of the brands I work on, a lot of them are brands that make you smile. And I think that's one of the most important things. And to be able to do that to so many people is, I think, amazing.
Thank you. We're going to start, since we're in the Botanical Garden, with just a question or two about the ingredients and what surrounds us. A lot of people ask the question, and it included tonight, is there any particular flower or something you saw tonight in this garden or somewhere else in the world that happens to be either your signature or your most favorite, even if it's not in everything you do? Name one or two flowers or ingredients that are your absolute faves, and if they relate to something you created, you can drop the name. And I do want to mention that Rodrigo is wearing orange pants tonight, coincidentally. He's always in leather. You're just getting to know him. He's a very cool cat. But he won't admit this maybe because of the decades, but he created Clinique Happy. So when you see those orange pants for the night, see, everyone knows it. So it's also good when I ask you the ingredient, if you don't mind, mention a fragrance or two that you've created, because these people probably have what a lot of people smell like tonight in the audience. So let's start with you, Honorine. Name a couple of favorite ingredients, flowers, or fragrances.
So I love the jasmine sambac. Jasmine sambac, it's a jasmine that has two facets, orange flower and jasmine. So it's really duality between two facets. I love to play with it because I can use it in different environment. And what I love to do the most is to try a flower and to enhance a facet and unexpected. For example, I use it in Born in Roma, Valentino, where I added vanilla, made it more luscious, more oriental, or like in the Mediterranean honeysuckle from Erin, this brighter, fresher. Or for example, another white flower that I love is Lily of the Valley. We call it muguet. It's a very fragile flower, very fragile. And in a fragrance I did for House of Beau called Bonbon, I tried it to make it more nutty by adding cognac, woody note, to really emphasize another facet that's unexpected.
That's a good one. I'm going to just skip you for a minute so we don't stay in the same order and go to Patty. Name a couple of flowers or ingredients that are your absolute faves and why, and maybe something that you have created with it.
Sure. One of the flowers that we're featuring here, ylang ylang, is definitely one of my favorites, and I think because it has so many different facets. It's tropical, it's rich, it's creamy, it has hints of banana, undertones of coconut, and I love anything that takes me to the beach. And I think some of the fragrances that we've shown earlier, you can see how we can use it in something more elevated into platinum. When we wrap it with ambers, but it's also could be something very fun when we wrap it with other citrus, beachy notes, as we saw in the Hibiscus Paradise. So it's just ylang ylang is just such a wonderful note that has so many different facets that we can combine with other floral notes and really transport us to a place I love, the beach.
Okay, Rodrigo, what's your favorite too?
Well, I will have to connect with the color of my pants, but because of more of a little pun, which is the orange tree, and it's the blossom of the orange tree, the flower of that tree that saw me being born in Mexico. My childhood, I opened a window and I have two orange trees underneath that. So I was literally, I grew up with the blossom of the orange tree. And in the technicalities of perfumery, we actually obtain a lot of very interesting raw materials from the orange tree, but namely two things, which are neroli, which is the essential oil of the flower, and then the absolute of the orange blossom. So neroli for me is very important. It's not only because I was born with that, and we would make tea concoctions, infusions in order to calm down the kids, because neroli calms down the kids, but also it's very important in one of my favorite fragrances that I actually originally made for myself, and then it became one of Tom Ford's very important stalwarts, which is Neroli Portofino. So neroli is a very important thing, the flower of the orange tree. Also, it's very important in happy and accompanied with the smell of the orange fruit. So it's something that is very, very dear and very close to me. However, there's another flower that for me is not only a favorite, but at the same time it's also something that intrigues me enormously, because Mother Nature at that time, she was kind of a youngster and she was kind of playing with how to organize the smells of flowers. And I say this as a botanist, which is magnolia. I'm sure that my colleague perfumers here will understand that magnolia is a very difficult flower to understand, because there's everything there. There's citrus, there's spice, there's fruit, there's animalic notes, there's even wood in the scent of magnolia. And I talk about the big chunky magnolia grandiflora, the magnolia from Louisiana and from Mexico. And for me, that flower signifies enormously, because it is for me the crucible of what Mother Nature wanted to make in a perfume, and then kind of Mother Nature failed, and then it went into white florals, into roses, into muguet, into other things. But magnolia is kind of the mother of it all. I met a lady one day. She was from Louisiana. She was from New Orleans, and we ended up talking about flowers and perfumes and magnolias, and they said, "Oh my God, I grew up with magnolias, and we would cut the flower and put it inside the room, and the flower would perfume the entire room." And she said something that has always marked me, and I told this story twice when we were over there, spraying perfume. And then she said, "I love magnolias because when you smell a magnolia, you smell all of the flowers and the fruits in the world at the same time." And for me, that is kind of resumes everything that a flower has to be.
That's a great story. Everything's a story with us. Gino, I want to ask you the same question, and then we're going to go to non-floral ingredients in a minute. But do you have a favorite floral ingredient that we find in some of your creations?
Yeah, there's a lot of different flowers that I could think of. One in particular with relation to this botanical garden is, again, the ylang ylang. In the cocoa shimmy, for many of you who smell the fragrance, we do have that flower in there to give that solar impression. It really takes you to, gives you that beachy feeling, as Patty had mentioned. The other flower that's near and dear to my heart is rose. Rose is probably, one of the more, classic, iconic fragrances, flowers. For me, it's super special because we, being Italian American, my parents immigrated from Italy. They grew up on a farm, and they moved to the city, Jersey City, New Jersey, and they had this tiny little plot of land, tiny backyard, not even a plot of land. It's and they were able to grow many different things just from, taking that kind of tradition and that culture from Italy. And they had roses, they grew peaches, they grew eggplant in Jersey City. I mean, we had eggplant in the backyard. And rose was so special because it was my grandmother's name. My father always made sure we had roses in the backyard. My sister's name is Rosina. So rose is super, super dear to my heart, and it's in many of my fragrances. It's probably, in all of them. In particular, one fragrance from Sniff that was Sweet Tooth, which was a really kind of sugary watermelon kind of fragrance, but the the main floral note to give you that pink rosy impression was rose. And then I'm just going to move on to one of my favorite ingredients to use in fragrance is actually Szechuan pepper. It is by far one of, to me, it's a fragrance within itself. The note it has a citrus element, it has a spicy element, it has a mango kind of tropical fruit element. It's so faceted. It's what we all probably look for in an ingredient to give you that kind of, uniqueness. And one of the fragrance I used it in was Guess Iconic.
That's a good segue too. So the flowers obviously are the love of your life and a big part of what you do. But a lot of these other ingredients, I remember once Rodrigo called them stinky smells. But why don't we just ask, and I'll start back to you, Patty, what's an ingredient other than a botanical that is incorporated in some of your creations, and why?
Well, I think, we know that naturals and synthetics are both important in our creations. And, there's some synthetic materials that we need together with our botanicals. Caramel is a very important note, especially now it's very trendy. But we need some of these notes to enhance some of the gourmands. I mean, if we smell the strawberry pound cake, it might not be for everyone, but it definitely takes you to that dessert. And we need those vanilla notes, not just vanilla absolute, but other stronger notes that get us to that decadent, gourmand, yummy kind of feeling.
That's a good one. I'm going to ask another question. Everyone on this panel has created fragrances, and most people who are not on the panel aren't completely understanding why Tom Ford has so many, why Aaron has so many, why BBW, or even Sniff. So most of the time when there is a beginning fragrance like Born in Roma, it leads to another, and it's not like we're just trying to make money, even though that's a lovely part of the business. It's also because we want to evolve, because no one is just one thing in life. And there's a big connection with memory we're going to talk about. So, Honorine, if you want to talk about whichever, Valentino or Aaron, or where you've been on a journey with a particular brand or individual, how do you go from one fragrance to the next creation? How does that evolution happen?
So I always say that I don't separate the perfumer and the woman. I'm 100% creator. So for me, everything that I connect with everything. I love music, I love art, for me, everything that stimulates an emotion is a source of creation. So I work a lot with artists. I love to understand technique. So it's not just going somewhere. An idea can come from my office, can come walking the street, looking at a person. So anything can be a source of creation. I also like to understand the technique behind a creator that is different than me. For example, I was passionate for a while with the Renaissance and Caravage and the way he introduced light in his construction, because for me, I approach fragrance through the construction. So I'm very technical. So and at the end of a project, I understand every piece of my formula, the way it evolved, how it constructed, every ingredient. I know everything by heart. I really live the moment. And I also like another artist called Gérard Richter because he brought something new also into the balance of the art. So for me, it could be a trip, it could be a fruit. And what happened, suddenly you have ideas that come to your mind. And you have combination, because everything starts with a combination of ingredients. I never start by, when I have an idea in my head, it's always a combination of 3-4 ingredients. White page. Contrast. Ingredients that normally don't fit together. Lavender with milk. And for the question, for example, Born Aroma, how I start from an original Born Aroma to a second Born Aroma, like if we call it flanker sometimes, is you take the structure, because I'm very technical, you take the structure almost like in painting from romanticism to sometimes abstract expressionist. You start, and then you try to see different facets, and it's like music, and you change the level of the facets. It's going from also from classic music to hip hop. You use the same ingredients, but the tonality is different. So, for example, for Born Roma, is if one day I decide, okay, I'm going to push the coconutty aspect to enhance the addiction, we do the extra dose. So it's really playing with the ingredients. It's exactly like music.
That's a good one. I see Rodrigo is like humming along. So let's go to you, Rodrigo, on this question. I love that Tom Ford Portofino, because I love to go to Italy and it transports me. But you've done ouds, and you've done other leather, of course, and so many different things that are completely unrelated with the Tom Ford brand. How does creativity come to you? Same versus what Honorine was talking about, or otherwise?
I like to play with the North and the South Pole. Honorine was mentioning Caravaggio, and also Caravaggio for me is a very important source of inspiration, because he created a concept, not only visual, but also an intellectual concept called the chiaroscuro, which is the clear and the dark, the opaque and the luminous. And for me, that is a very important dialogue that you have to establish when you create a perfume piece. And I say create in a modest way, sometimes, and I'm not a religious man, but creation comes with a capital C. So we have to be, as perfumers, we have to be responsible and careful to use the word creation. But at the same time, it's something that we are responsible for that. And so people call it tension. People call it contrast. People call it encounter. People call it marriage, etc. But well, in a marriage, there's a lot of contradiction and tension. That's for sure. Let me tell you, it's like I'm a married man. I know. Yeah. So, but for me, that's very important to encounter a balance that at the same time adds interest and adds conversation, and that is what I. Little nature. And that is very important. So you're mentioning, of course, I love to make my citrus fragrances, and I'm known to do a clinic happy and a fruity orange, but at the same time I do very brooding, very darker and ominous perfumes like black cashmere, Donna Karan, etc., where there's a lot of incense, and not even incense, frankincense, and then we get all the resins and all the leathers and etc., and I love to play with that, but also because that's part of my nature. I can be as joyful as you can, and I can be also as dark as you can, and that is a very important thing. And as a perfumer, and I'm sure everybody will agree, like you will do the most youthful and fun fruity floral that smells like a sorbet, or you can go and smells like the interior of a car where three couples had sex together. So it's kind of fabulous, So
Okay, that brings a lot to mind.
yes,
Patty, I'm going to go to Patty. A minute ago, you talked about synthetic versus natural, and this is always a good topic to come from an expert, because it's IFF where I went into the greenhouse and learned about headspace. So in the real world of fragrance, we believe that synthetic is not in any way inferior to what is natural. And if we did take everything natural, and this is a good example where we are tonight, we would sort of wipe out the entire planet Earth. Could you explain, Patty, what headspace is and how a perfumer uses that?
Sure. So I think we all work at different companies, but we all have a form of this technology. It's Headspace. And what we're able to do is we are able to cultivate different florals, and some are unique. We can make different combinations. And what we do is we have a technology where we can capture the molecules as they evaporate, and then we recreate that floral. So we're basically recreating nature synthetically, but we can capture the authenticity of whatever floral that note. And it's we have a greenhouse at IFF, and like I said, we all have some form of this technology. Ours is called the Livings, and it's just wonderful because it's really just how we can, in a sense, duplicate nature.
I saw where they extract it straight from the flower, like I call it a syringe because I don't know the technical piece. They go into the lab, they put it into a droplet, it goes into a computer, which I don't understand, and what they come out with is the ingredient to duplicate the flower without destroying the flowers on planet Earth.
Yeah, no, we've actually gone out to many years ago. There was in Texas, there was some storm, and there was wildflowers. There was something very unique that happened, and we went out there, a perfumer and an evaluator, and we actually went with the gear, and we put the headspace, the balloon over. We did the needles, and then as soon as we captured that, we went to FedEx. We had that shipped over so like it would stay. And yeah, we were able to send that through the machine, and we were able to have the molecules to recreate it.
Thank you. We're teaching a little from here too. Gino, I have a question for you, which is specific to Sniff and some other things you've done, because I've really gotten pretty hooked on that particular brand. Thank you, Lorenzo. The youth of America has suddenly embraced, in the past about 3 to 5 years, fragrance. Not that they were completely turned off, but it was being marketed in such a way that it was a turn-off, probably to everyone, and young people did not want to wear fragrance. Now it is part of their personality, their aura. It defines them. And Gino, you have done some very specific ones, and if you haven't seen this, it may feel a little shocking, but that smell like, either pancakes or bakery items or otherwise. So can you explain, when not dealing with the flora and all that world, how that comes about and how you create it?
Yes. So what's great about Sniff and other brands, there are many other brands that have this kind of concept. They're really trying to do new, unique fragrances based on things that are nostalgic. I think what we try to do is we try to create something that says it's kind of simple, but at the same time elevated. So, for instance, you mentioned the pancake, MANE made the pancake fragrance, and then they made layering mists to go with it. They made a blueberry, a chocolate, a whipped cream, and what's really cool is that it's not just this kind of juvenile kind of fragrance. It's an upscale fragrance that has musks and woods and everything else that makes it very different than those, like maybe something that would be in a candle or something like that. And what's really cool is that you're able to take it and layer it with other fragrances. So you can take the pancake and put the whipped cream on it, or you can take the blueberries and put the whipped cream on it. Really cool concept, trying to get the younger universe into fragrance again. And that's just one example. Bath and Body Works does a lot of that. They do a lot of fragrances that are says and then elevated in some degree. What's great about Bath and Body Works is that they're so approachable. They make fragrance so approachable for everyone, and that's a great thing, because it allows us. I think everyone wants to have that feeling. I mentioned it earlier, feeling happy. Everyone wants to be able to put something on and have that sensation that they feel once they wear it. And all of these different brands that are out there now are doing it so well that it's not cheap. It's done in a way that's very elevated and kind of gives you price points that are approachable for everyone, whether it's mastige, prestige, fine, niche. And I think that's the beauty of fragrance. A lot of brands are doing things for everyone to make everyone feel beautiful.
Thank you. Another question that a lot of people ask, sorry, I'm going to have a water in a minute. I'll get it. I would love for you, Honorine, to talk about synesthesia. What does that mean? Or who wants to define what that is? Because there's a big connection between color and fragrance. Do you want to pass that to Rodrigo?
Well, she's
in
just
the
did.
orange pencil.
Perfect. Okay, let's get into the etymology. Synesthesia, it means the senses together, and it has become something that is part of the discussion all the time in perfume, and at the same time, it's no accident. Because as a biologist, I can tell you, the first sense, we know the senses, the sense of touch, the sense of sound, the sense of sight, etc., etc. But the sense that defines animals is the sense of smell. And why is that? Because the sense of smell is the first one that really appeared in the evolutionary terms. I can get into 79 hours of this, but because I really like it.
You have about 2 minutes.
Yes, it's fine. Don't worry. I follow you with the time. So what happens is that every single animal, living creature, has a capability, even if it's a very simple animal like a tapeworm or a dolphin. Cetaceans are the most sophisticated mammals. They have a capability, an in-house capability to react to a chemical stimuli, because a smell is by definition a chemical stimuli. You get some kind of sense of something chemical happening in your environment, and then you will have a capability of reacting as I stay and I love, or I flee and I vomit. That's basically what it is, and this has been a lot of philosophical combinations. So it is, okay, I smell something wonderful. I smell a flower. I smell a fruit. I smell something yummy, like caramel. I stay. I smell, feces, or I smell, an electrical discharge, etc. That's dangerous. I need to go. And that's exactly how it goes. But what happens, and this is anatomically wonderful, is that the center of any living creature that receives and processes this information is in the center of what we now call the brain. So it goes really into the core of it all, and then it creates reactions that go into the other layers of the brain of a mammal, and then it touches emotion, it touches sexual impulse, it touches pleasure or displeasure, and it touches motivation into the eyesight, into the sound, into the touch, etc. That's why, and that's the only reason why, when you smell a perfume that really moves you and it touches your emotion and your olfactive capability, you remember your grandmother and her skirt, or you remember the first time you kissed someone, or you remember that day that you were moved by Beethoven's Emperor Concerto No. 5, because every single stimuli that is it is got into the olfactive memory, then creates something else into the other senses. So that is synesthesia, all of the senses together, and perfume is very much in the core of that particular, philosophical position of creating all of the stimuli to create all of the senses to work together into something wonderful.
That's a wow. And did everyone understand that? Because there will be a quiz at the end of this meeting.
Oopsie, I'm a biologist.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, there's a lot of science. So I'll go back to Honorine because she let that one go to the next chair. Honorine, you meet a lot of people who want to create a fragrance. Some people show up with a lot of ideas and a lot of specifics, and some people less or more. So what is it like to create a fragrance with a person who has a vision? How do you translate what they think they want to the final product?
So for me, I think it's very important to have the first contact, not to talk about fragrances, really to understand the personality of the person. Because sometimes a person will come and say to me, oh, this is a new trend. I want to do a woody fragrance. And after an hour, playing and working and discussing, we decide to do a leathery or a flower. So it's very important, the connection, and to understand what the person really means or what the person really wants. You really have to understand the personality, the vision, and what the person likes. So first, there's an hour discussion. We meet, we talk. Then we go through ingredients. I let the person smell. And then, for me, it's very important not to give the person what she wants. It's really to impress and surprise and take the person out of her comfort zone. I always say that because I think this is where creativity is the best. So I piece of myself. So I bring a chord because I always work with accords on the side. I'm very independent, so I always say the best creativity comes from yourself. So I take some of my accords, and then I'll smell with the person until the person decides which one she will like. And we go on a journey. So we start developing, we're building, we
Sorry, I broke the chair. Sorry.
There'll be a penalty box at the end.
We add, we take out, because sometimes adding too much destroys the balance of the fragrance. And I created fragrances in 5 mods, and some of them in 3,000 modifications. Sometimes in 2 weeks, sometimes in 7 years.
Ouch.
Yeah.
And you're right.
And it's true. And I can tell you, I go up and down, because when you are in a journey, when you create a fragrance, for me, it's in my head. I go to bed, I think about the fragrance. I go to work, I think about the fragrance. I wear the fragrance. I have blotters all over, everywhere in my house. My husband is like, he's accepted, but I spray it everywhere. And I will never forget one day, I was working on the fragrance, and it was all about peaches. And my client said to me, I can't smell the peach. There was 50% of peach in the fragrance. And the person said, I cannot smell the peach. And it took me 2 months. I didn't understand what was happening. And then I promise you, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I knew the solution. I had too much peach in my fragrance. So what happened is the peach took over and you could not smell anything, and you become anasmic because you have one smell. So what I did, I put 1/3 of the amount of the peaches, and I added facets, as Rodrigo would say, with tension, and I added different facets of the peach. More cassisi, more sulfuric, more green, more, fresher. So by tension, you can elevate the peach and you can smell it much better. So it's really a process of construction. And then one day the person say, oh, that's it. This is what I wanted. And then you finished.
It's always finished eventually. Because we start on time and end on time, we hope you got to meet these fabulous perfumers before we sat down. It's getting dark. But I think if anyone has a question in the audience, we have a few minutes to do that. I can give up my microphone if you wish. Don't be shy. I see some hands going up. You may have to walk in your bare feet, but Amy's going to bring the mic to you. Or, oh no, better.
Thank
you. There you go.
Thank you all for doing this. This is incredible. I have a question. I work in the wine and spirits business, and obviously we're very much about fragrance and smell as well. So I would love to know if there is wine or spirits that you could say that inspire you guys that could be relative for us if we go to our local liquor store for wine or spirits, and something that you think that would stand out that's most fragrant.
We have a lot of people who've consumed wine on the panel. Who would like to take that? Go, Gino.
So I just want to. Can you just repeat what's the final ask again? I got the base of, but
so the final ask would be something incredible for wine or spirits that you would say is most fragrant. For example, tonight we have gin that's sponsoring the event with all the botanicals. But if there's any type of wine or spirit that would inspire you, that says every time you open a bottle, you look at it and go, "Wow, what a fragrance this is."
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually a lot of my creativity actually comes from spirits and wine as well. I create a lot of boozy like fragrances. I love to actually create cocktails. So I at home make my own cocktails, and so I love the question. So for instance, with gin, let's say gin has it comes from juniper. So you have that aromatic quality that you get from gin, and then you can see things like, for instance, Hendrick's gin. My colleague hates it. I love it. It has a very unique cucumber element, which is really great to make it a gin martini with, because it gives another facet that you don't get normally just from other gins. I could talk about this for hours, but that particular element, if you talk about wine, even if you look at wine and the fragrance, the wine descriptions on how they market it, it's so similar to what we do. The way they talk about, the flint and the terroir and the different fruits, the wild berries, where it's grown and how where it's grown and how it affects the grapes and the different berries. But I mean, a lot of that is you see a lot of overlap with that. If you look at elderflower, if you look at pastis, if you look at all the different things where you have like an anisic quality to certain liquors. I think even bourbon. I mean, I didn't even talk about bourbon. I have 600 bottles of bourbon. Bourbon has a really great. The thing about bourbon is that to stay bourbon, it can't have anything added to it. So it uses the environment that it's in to manipulate. So they'll use different barrels. They'll take wine barrels and age bourbon in it for a few times to give a unique facet to the bourbon. They'll do it in Amburano barrels, which is Brazilian tree. It gives a really rich, spicy, unique element. There's a lot of overlap between fragrance and the spirit industry.
You brought up a subject that we could talk about the entire night. And even though I don't know as much as anyone here, my fame, like everyone knows, every night I have a bottle of wine, I light a candle, and it's a match every night. The ingredients and the connection to food, to wine, to liquor, to many categories are really what we all have in common in this room. Do we have another question in the audience? We'll try to get there.
Please use the microphone.
Yeah. The mic is coming towards you. I hope you like everyone you're sitting near, because
Thank you.
as the
Yeah.
sun goes down, you're
So
getting
I
close.
have two questions. I have one for our genius board here. We just got finished launching at Macy's the new Valentino Purple, YSL, and another one I can't think of. But I wanted to ask the board, is there a relationship between the fragrance, for instance, in the new Valentino Purple, with the actual bottle design?
That's a good question. A lot of us can answer, but since someone who has touched Valentino, do you want to take it, or should I give a Macy's answer? Okay. So on my repertoire, what's interesting about perfumers, very often they do not see the ultimate package. See, they're all nodding. Some do, maybe Patty, but many times they do not. Sometimes they don't know the ultimate name. It's such a creative process that the marketer picks it up and decides where to go. I know those bottles you're talking about extremely specifically. So back in the world where Valentino was, in the design world, they had a real image, and they've had different reiterations. It was green, it was purple, it was different colors. Some of it is trend. Most fragrances that have a signature bottle, and many, many do, they try to continue with that with each reiteration. But tell me if I'm wrong, but basically speaking, the people on this panel do not work on the bottle at all. And they're very often, like, they always want to give me their lab sample, and I always want to bring over the real bottle. So they're both very creative packages. And sometimes they are exactly together, and sometimes they are not at all. Does anyone want to add to that?
I think that's true. I think we will agree that we are somehow, unfairly or not, left in the darkness. Like, okay, just think about this, and then, go and create your perfume talking about, I don't know, the Venus of Milo, and then that's the concept, and then possibly possibly the package will be black, and that's more or less what we get. It's very, very rare, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you have good surprises, and sometimes, I'm gonna be honest, not
Horrible
good
surprises. Yes.
So
Ouch.
yeah, sometimes you say, "Oh my God, what just happened?" But so you have two schools. Some people like to know the end result, like the packaging, and I prefer not to, because if you bring me a purple packaging, I would think lavender, but maybe why not putting vanilla in it? So I think I like the specialist to take care of his things, and I take care of my things. For example, I don't like when the packaging person tells me, make your fragrance stronger or more long-lasting, because I think...
Which happens.
Which
Well,
happens
yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's better not to, and to let people who are specialized in packaging and name. And then you have a chef d'orchestre who really put everything together. And this is the brand. And this is their specialty, not our specialty.
We could have another panel with just the creators of the bottle. I know the YSL creator, it's Suzanne Dalton. She is famous. She has done upscale, downscale, in-between scale. These people are artists in their own way, and they very often create the bottle when they have not smelled the fragrance. So it's really bringing the worlds together. And even though everyone is sort of nodding, it's a good thing that they're separate from what usually goes on. Amy, do we have time for more? Okay. You can take my mic.
Hold on.
Just don't electrocute me.
One more.
This is the final question.
Linda, thank you very, very much. First of all, you guys are fantastic. Thank you for doing this. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My question is this. You started to ask it before, but I think we only got one response about the non-floral. So can we get some responses about what non-floral fragrance or sources that you use?
I'll give you the intro.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I translate what that means. I get questions all the time. How do I find a fragrance? So you know my spiel, probably. Every retailer and every designer comes up with categories or classifications. Floral, fruity, spicy, leather, woody. These are really different parts of how many ingredients are out there right now? Thousands? Thousands. And that's the only place AI even comes into our world, thank goodness. So I would really say Where floral is the most common and the one that we're talking about quite prejudicedly tonight, I don't know if that's a word, these other types of categories that are woody or spicy or citrus, if you just hear those words, and if you looked at the thousands of fragrances that are offered out there, that usually can lead you on a journey to find the one you need. And I'm going to wrap it or put a bow on it with what Honorine said, because you know, people always ask me, like, what's your favorite fragrance? And I certainly don't have one. It's a repertoire. But when someone brings me, like Honorine was saying, like I would go in and say, I want a floral, or I love the Mediterranean, give me this, give me that. It's the people who've created brands who bring me exactly what I didn't ask for, have brought me the ones that have become my biggest love of life. Isn't that it? It happens to be true. Okay, so Amy Rosenberg, I want to thank you and a great team. I also want to really give a shout out for 1 minute. We're spending another day here tomorrow. The Fragrance Foundation loves the creativity and the artist, and these are our most important people in the world. But the biggest priority at the Fragrance Foundation is to bring into our community and really recognize and celebrate everyone of every color, every religion, every background, whatever country you came from, whatever age you did. And that's what we are really about. So with that in spirit, and I don't make this up, Charnay Jackson created a program called Sense of Success. Patty is very involved in this, where we go into schools and tell students about fragrances. And Alina Kazan, who is the head of communication, the other star on my very small galaxy, has made this into such a big deal. If you go home fast enough, you're going to see this on the 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock news with the gentleman that was here today. We thank you for letting us come here. We will come back, and thank you to the greatest perfumers of the night. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you.
Yes.
One shot.
This was so fantastic.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I did
welcome.
break the chair.
Follow us. Okay. Everyone should follow us at Fragrance Foundation Instagram, at the Fragrance Foundation website, which is www.fragrance.org. Thank you.